If there are no questions, خلاص Saleh.
We have Abdul Hakim Damulira from Fort Worth, Texas. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. What should our relationship with the Jews be in this day and age?
Question says from Fort Worth, Texas, what should our relationship with the Jews be in this day and age? It's a very long and detailed discussion. Before we can shed any light on the issue, we have to know that Jews are of different types. Jews are of different types. They have different religious factions among them. They have different ethnic backgrounds among those who say that they are Jews. Jews from Ethiopia, Jews from Poland, from Germany. Everybody understand this? Jews from Palestine, and the list goes on. Those who are considered to be conservative or reserved Jews, Zionist Jews, Hasidic Jews, and the list goes on, different types. So obviously, if there are different types, both religiously and ethnically, so on and so forth, then obviously, then dealing with them is going to vary as well. It's going to what? Vary as well. The general principle in al-Islam of al-bara wal-wala, as was explained by Ibn al-Qayyim and many others, is to love and to hate for the sake of Allah, which is simply summed up as loving the Muslims and hating the non-Muslims. Being loyal to the Muslims and not being loyal to the non-Muslims. Supporting the Muslims and not supporting shirk and kufr, etc. Regardless of the different types of shirk and kufr. Buddhist, Hindu, this, that, so on and so forth. Everybody understand this? That's the general rule of anyone who is not a Muslim, who says, La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. Period. That's the general rule. Jew, Christian, Lutheran, Baptist, Zionist, atheist, agnostic, and the list goes on. Anyone who doesn't say La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. And among the circle of the Muslims, those who say La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, there are those who have a high level of obedience to Allah and to His Messenger on the Sunnah. Those who are far. Well, how could that? It varies. You love and you hate according to what they have with them. Among the Muslims, let alone outside of the fold in the circle of Al-Islam. Everybody clear in the Sunnah. As far as the Jews, then it's going to depend where you live. You live in the lands of non-Muslims. It's not like you're living in the lands of Muslims. You yourself are directly harmed, directly threatened, directly abused and berated by people who say that they're Jews. Your dealings with them, peace and war, this and that, is not going to be like a place in which that isn't the case. Everybody understand this? The Muslims in America is not like the Muslims in the Middle East. This is a difference. With regards to physical fighting, politics, land, property, this and that. The general rule is al-bara wal-wala. And notice how we said bara first before wala. Like Ibn al-Qayyim stated. Most people say al-wala wal-bara. Ibn al-Qayyim mentioned al-bara'u wal-wala. Everybody understand this? To show you the deepness of it. La ilaha illallah. Negation before affirmation. What's important is it's going to vary from time to time, from person to person, place to place. If I have a neighbor who's a Jew, it's my neighbor. I have to look after him, his property. I can't lust off of his wife, disrespect his property, allow someone to do something bad. It's my neighbor, even if he's a Jew. He's trying to do me physical harm, cause me harm. I have the right to defend myself. I have the right to defend my property, my honor, my women folk. That's my haqq from Allah Azza wa Jal, let alone in society, self-defense. Everybody understand this? He's not fighting me. He's not attacking me. He's my neighbor. It's a different story. It's a basic right. My neighbor, my coworker, my employee, my employer, living in America, living in the UK. That's different. Everybody understand this? The same applies to overseas. Look at history. When the Jews and the Muslims, they lived. Muslims ran this country. The Jews were the minority. Whatever the case is. The moment there's oppression, the moment there is plunder and rape and murder, the moment I'm swindling you out of your property, your rights, your land, your honor, killing you, blowing you up, it's a whole different what? Story. Allah knows best.
UK from Youngstown, Ohio. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. May Allah bless you. Is it permissible to take children to Chuck E. Cheese given that majority of the games are games of skill opposed to games of chance?
What's important is the scholars of Islam say it's permissible for children to have recreation, as we learn from the story of Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam. They asked their father to take Yusuf and let him play, let him run around, and we will protect him. That's what Allah says. Yarta, yal'ab, nastabiq. We were racing. So having children run and play and doing things of recreation, labats, with conditions. First of them, that those things aren't haram. Whatever it is, including haram. Alcohol, drugs, profanity, whatever is included in the circle of haram. Video game, physical game, gambling, anything that's considered what? Haram. On a screen, a ball, a mallet, a hammer, this, that, ticket, anything that's what? Haram. Secondly is that play, recreation, these things should be limited. Children will play, they will be children, but it should be limited. And it shouldn't be a thing in which a child who's 6 and 7, 8 and 9, 10, and it's nothing but play. Laughing, joking, video games, going here. There has to be education. There has to be tarbiyah. And most importantly, give me your phone, son or daughter, put your phone away, cut it off, go outside and play. Get some fresh air. Learn a skill. Get some physical strength. And a child cannot just become a zombie of video games, a zombie of arcade games, a slave of digital mental stimulation. This is a reality. Even among recreation, playing basketball, which has its ups and downs, is not like a person just sitting in front of a screen all day long, hours playing this game. Has to be a balance. Let alone the fact, even when it comes to physical recreation, physical working out, kids having fun playing dodgeball, tug of war, jungle gym, stuff like this, in which there's a physical skill as well that they learn, and physical strength and stamina as well, that also has to be what? Limited. And the child has to be taught, according to his or her knowledge, that life is deeper than a game. Obviously, you can't say this to a 6-month baby, but according to the level of the child, you have to teach them you're a Muslim. Life is much deeper and much more serious than Chuck E. Cheese. So if you take them to Chuck E. Cheese or any place in which they have permissible recreation, and it's limited, and it's a means of reward for their hard work and for their obedience, to get good grades in the Islamic school and the non-Islamic school, both. You reward them for getting straight A's in science and math, and just like memorizing the Quran. That's one thing. There's nothing wrong with that. With those what? Conditions. With those what? With those conditions. Whether it's Chuck E. Cheese or any other place of recreation. Allah knows best.
H.A. Arlington, Virginia. Is the joining of feet in Salah from the Sunnah? Jazakallah khair ya Mufti.
The rows should be straightened. And the gaps should be minimized to the best of your capability. If that means having your heel directly with your neighbor's heel without harming and annoying and bothering the people, then that's one thing. If it means the feet being together in general and not being a gaping hole in the rank, that's one thing. What's important is the Prophet ﷺ commanded people to straighten their rows, to perfect their rows. And the Sahaba, they mentioned, and they said what they did. The companions would put their shoulders together. They would put their heels together to the best of your ability. And Allah knows best.
Assalamu alaikum. Elizabeth S. from Des Moines, Iowa. What advice can you give for a Muslim struggling with alcohol or drug abuse?
What advice can I give to a Muslim struggling from alcohol or drug abuse? Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. First and foremost, we make dua for that Muslim, that Allah relieve them and take the noose off of their necks, the noose of intoxication, the noose of drug abuse. And may Allah protect them from that and give them the necessary strength and courage to do what's needed to be done, because it takes strength and courage. Also, we ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to remove the pride and oftentimes arrogance or egocentrism from the people's hearts, which is one of the key factors in people not getting help. I can do it myself. I don't need to go to rehab. I can't go to rehab. Or some brothers, they were saying once, a few years back in Philadelphia, they're saying, I'm not going to rehab for smoking crack cocaine because I have to reveal my sins. It clearly says you can't what? Reveal your sins. I read it in this book, so therefore I can't go through the program, because if I smoke crack again, I have to tell everybody. So therefore I'm dropping out of the rehab program, the clinic. See the aqliya, the intellect of a weak-minded person, how the shaitan preys on him. You're smoking crack cocaine. How many haram things are you falling into? How many people's lives are you affecting and destroying every time you smoke that dime rock, huh? Or nick rock, that glass pipe that you smoke? How many haram things are you falling into? And yet you're concerned on what? I can't tell the people about the sin that I make. This is not based off of fiqh. Oftentimes it's based off of deception and pride in the heart. Or alcohol. I don't need to stop drinking. I can manage it. I work hard. I deserve to drink. I don't need to get help. I can't go to them. I can't tell the people that it messes you up and it keeps you from getting the necessary what? Help. Islamically and the secular help as well. Everybody understand this? A professional. After that, what type of advice would I give? You have to make sincere dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And how is it possible for the Muslim to make a sincere dua and not fight and not scratch and claw? Even though you're weak and you're beat down, you've been doing it for a while, but if you're really truthful to Allah, with Allah, you're going to feel shy, not trying to put forth some type of what? Effort. Even as I said, you scratch and claw, you keep falling back, but you have that effort. And that piece of effort is also going to lead you to other things, such as getting the professional help. Islamically and the secular help. The imam in the masjid, one of the most beneficial things is counseling, sitting, talking. To the Muslims and to the non-Muslims. And pinpointing the cause in the long run. What makes me drink? What makes me smoke? Because I'm depressed, because I'm lonely, because I'm by myself, I have too much money. Have you made Hajj yet? Ask yourself the question. You smoke drugs, drink alcohol. Sit down and say, did I make Hajj before yet? How many Muslims Lutfi did make Hajj that you know? And how much money they spend on things? Sneakers, shoes, cars, mortgages, this, that. And they haven't made Hajj yet. So every dollar that you spend on this drug, on this bottle, think about putting it in your piggy bank for Hajj. Or giving it to an orphan, a sadaqah. Think what you could do with that money. And just realize that every time you pick up a glass or you smoke something, you're getting further from Allah and closer to ultimate destruction in this life and in the hereafter. And there's several ways of dealing with it. Advice. How would you feel if you died in that state? Let's not talk about the angels, the punishment, the wrath. Let's just stop and think about your children and your family members. How hurtful would it be for them to come in the bathroom and find their father dead on the floor with a needle in his arm? What type of psychological damage would you do to your wife and they found you drunk, dead in a pool of urine and alcohol? Forget your soul just for a second. Would you want to do that to your wife and your children? Or the Muslims, would you want that? Think how bad it would be on your mother if she came in and saw her son in that state. It would destroy her. So is that fair to those people? You may not have the strength. You may not care about yourself. But think about what? Think about those other people. Everybody understand this? You have to realize that just like you got addicted to the thing, by Allah's permission, you can get off of it. With the necessary efforts, with the necessary patience. But it's going to be a struggle. It's not going to be easy. But no one ever said it was going to be easy. That's why you have Allah with you. That's why Allah is supposed to be your supporter. You're not supposed to fight the war by yourself. You don't have to fight it by yourself. So you have to, the first step and the most important piece of advice of any drug addiction or substance addiction is the mind. Mind games. The mind playing tricks on you. And in many different ways that you can play trick on yourself, let alone the shaitan, let alone other human beings. So you have to think critically. You have to return back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You have to be willing to take some pain, willing to take some anxiety. All of the pleasure, 1 cup of pleasure may equal 2 or 3 months of total anguish, but it's a step. And then the shaitan, and he comes, or your mind says, well, I can't deal with the anxiety right now. It's too much. It hurts too bad. Okay. Ask yourself the question, 3 months of sacrifice, 6 months of pain, or an eternal life of suffering? Because you know what happens when you drink and you get high? Your job, your relationship, your children, domestic abuse, you don't pray, and the list goes on of the problems that you know comes from that bottle. It's like bottles of sorrow, as the poet said. Bottles of what? Sorrow. So that's my advice in brief. Allah knows best. هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على عبده ورسوله نبي محمد. جزاكم الله خيرا.